After meeting each other online, we decided to meet each other, but the universe seems against it. Chapter 1. Daniel sat in his apartment, staring at his phone screen, his thumb hovering over the notification that read, "You've got a match." He had signed up for the dating app on a whim after much coaxing from his friend, Eric. 32, his dating life had been stagnant, and he figured, why not give it a try? He tapped on the notification and was met with a profile picture of a woman named Olivia, 28, with a warm smile and dark eyes that seemed to hold a sense of curiosity. Feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness, he sent her a simple message. "Hey Olivia, nice to meet you." To his surprise, she responded within minutes. "Hey Daniel, nice to meet you too. So what made you try this app?" And just like that, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Over the next 3 weeks, their chats became a regular part of their routine. They talked about their favorite books, and to their surprise, they had an identical list of favorite authors. "Wait, you love Ray Bradbury too?" Daniel typed in disbelief one evening. "Yes, I reread Fahrenheit 451 almost every year," Olivia replied. "It's eerie how we share the same taste in literature." It didn't stop there. They both preferred rainy days over sunny ones. They hated pineapple on pizza. They had an odd yet endearing habit of tapping their fingers when deep in thought. The similarities were uncanny. One night, Daniel asked, "Okay, this might sound crazy, but do you think we might be long-lost relatives or something?" Olivia laughed through the voice message she sent back. "I actually thought of that too. I even asked my mom if we have any relatives named Daniel, but nope. Nothing. Same here. I even asked my dad. He thinks I'm weird for asking." Well, that makes 2 of us. Despite their busy schedules, Daniel being a software developer and Olivia working as a journalist in a fashion company, they made time to talk, sending each other random memes, sharing stories about their day, and even exchanging voice messages when texts weren't enough. One evening, as Olivia was preparing for bed, Daniel texted her, "So, we've been talking for 3 weeks now. Do you think it's time we meet in person?" She hesitated before replying, "I was actually going to ask you the same thing. When are you free?" They compared schedules, realizing that both of them had hectic workloads, but in 2 weeks they would both have a free weekend. "How about we meet halfway between our cities?" Daniel suggested. "That sounds perfect. I can't wait to meet you in person," Olivia replied. Daniel stared at his phone, a smile playing on his lips. It was strange how natural this felt, how easily they had connected. He had never believed in fate before, but maybe, just maybe, this was something different. Now, all that was left was to see if their connection was just as strong in the real world. Chapter 2. 2 weeks later, just as they were finalizing their plans, Olivia sent Daniel a message. "I swear I'm not bailing on you, but I just got assigned a big project. I have to travel to another city for a fashion event. I'll be gone for at least a week." Daniel groaned but then chuckled. "You won't believe this. My boss just gave me a new project with a ridiculous deadline. Looks like we're both stuck with work. What are the odds?" Olivia replied, followed by a laughing emoji. "Guess fate is playing games with us." "Looks like it. But hey, at least now we both have an excuse and it's not just one of us being a flake." "Exactly. Okay, so let's reschedule. After we're both done with work, no more delays. Deal. No matter what, we meet after this." They both laughed at the irony of the situation, but instead of being disappointed, their anticipation grew. They continued chatting whenever they had time, sending updates on their respective workloads, venting about stressful deadlines, and sneaking in a few playful complaints about how work was keeping them apart. As the days passed, their bond only strengthened. And though they hadn't met yet, they both knew whenever it finally happened, it would be worth the wait. One evening, after another long day of work, Daniel stared at his phone, his fingers hesitating over the keyboard. They had been texting nonstop, but he wanted more, something closer, something real. Without overthinking it, he pressed the video call button. Olivia's phone buzzed. She saw the incoming video call and, for a moment, panicked. Her heart pounded. "A video call? Yeah?" She glanced at herself in the mirror. Her hair was slightly messy from a long day and she was wearing an oversized hoodie. Should I answer? Before she could decide, her finger instinctively hit accept. The screen flickered and then there he was. Daniel. Live. In front of her. Both of them stared, momentarily stunned. "Wow." Daniel muttered before quickly regaining his composure. "Hey. It's really you." Olivia blinked, then let out a small laugh. Yeah, it's really me. I mean, I know what you look like from your pictures, but this feels different. Daniel nodded. Same here. It's like, I don't know, like we've met before? She tilted her head, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. I was about to say the same thing. But we already checked, we've never met before. Yet it feels like we have, Daniel said, leaning back in his chair with a smile. They both fell into laughter, the same thought occurring to them at the same time. And now we're even thinking alike? This is getting weird. Olivia joked. Weird, but kind of amazing, Daniel admitted. For the next hour, they talked like they had known each other for years. They teased, they laughed, and for the first time, they saw each other's smiles not through filtered profile pictures, but in real time. As the call stretched into the night, neither of them wanted to hang up. Something about finally seeing each other, even through a screen, made everything feel more real, more exciting. Eventually, Olivia yawned, stretching her arms. I should probably sleep. Early flight tomorrow. Daniel sighed dramatically. Fine, I guess I'll let you go. But this was fun. We should do this more often. Agreed. She smiled. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Olivia. As the call ended, they both stared at their screens for a moment, smiling to themselves. Whatever this was, it was something special. Chapter 3. After that video call and their exhausting work schedules, things finally settled down. With their responsibilities temporarily out of the way, they scheduled their long-awaited meeting for the upcoming weekend. They agreed to meet at a scenic nature park that lay at the border of their cities. A quiet, refreshing spot to unwind and talk in person for the first time. On the day of their meeting, excitement buzzed between them as they texted updates about their journey. But as fate or something else would have it, their journey did not go as planned. An hour into the drive, both of them hit heavy traffic. A massive accident had occurred with multiple vehicles involved, blocking major highways in both their cities. The severity of the crash made their paths nearly impassable. They texted back and forth, each sharing images of the gridlock ahead of them. The eeriness of it all settled in. First their jobs, now this. Is the universe trying to stop us from meeting? Olivia typed. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised, Daniel replied. This is way too much of a coincidence. After waiting for hours with no progress, they finally accepted reality. They weren't meeting today. Defeated, they turned their cars around and headed home. That night, feeling dejected but still longing to talk, they video called each other. The disappointment faded slightly as their conversation picked up, flowing as naturally as ever. Then Olivia brought up something odd. You know, when I was younger, I used to have these recurring dreams. About a place I had never been, with people I didn't know. Daniel raised an eyebrow. That's funny. I had dreams like that too. No way. Mine was always this small town with cobblestone streets, and I had a group of friends. There was this one guy named... Olivia hesitated, as if trying to recall the name. Elliot? Daniel blurted out. Olivia froze, her eyes widening. How did you know that? Daniel swallowed, his mind racing. Because that's the name I remember from my dreams too. Silence stretched between them, both of them staring at each other through the screen. Okay, this is officially creeping me out, Olivia admitted, rubbing her temples. First, our weird similarities, then all the delays keeping us from meeting, and now shared dreams? Daniel let out a nervous laugh. I don't even know what to say, but I do know one thing. What? We have to meet, no matter what. Olivia exhaled deeply, then nodded. Yeah. No more delays. Next weekend, we make it happen. Their conversation continued, both of them recalling oddly specific details from their childhood dreams. Places, people, even the same strange, inexplicable emotions tied to them. Something was happening between them, something beyond logic. And they both knew they couldn't ignore it any longer. Chapter 4. After a week of anticipation, Daniel was finally on his way to meet Olivia. This time, they had chosen a different location, Olivia's city. Daniel had decided to make the trip, wanting to put an end to the string of strange coincidences that had kept them apart. The plan was simple. They would meet at a cozy cafe in the heart of the city, a neutral and comfortable place where they could finally talk in person. As he drove, Daniel remained cautiously optimistic. There were no unexpected delays, no traffic jams, no accidents, just a long but peaceful drive. He kept an eye on the road, taking extra precautions. With everything that had happened before, he wasn't taking any chances. After hours on the road, he finally reached the outskirts of Olivia's city. The moment he passed the welcome sign, his phone buzzed. Olivia was calling. "Hey," he answered, a smile creeping onto his lips. "Hey, did you make it?" she asked eagerly. "I just got into the city," Daniel confirmed. "No weird obstacles this time." "Good," Olivia sighed, relieved. "I'm heading to the cafe now. Drive safe. Okay? Of course. I'll be there soon." Meanwhile, Olivia was getting ready to leave her apartment. She checked herself in the mirror, adjusting her hair and making sure she looked presentable. Part of her was nervous, but mostly she was excited. Today was the day they would finally meet in person. She grabbed her car keys and headed out. The drive was smooth, with little traffic, and she reached the cafe earlier than expected. Choosing a table near the window, she settled into her seat, keeping an eye out for Daniel's arrival. Back in his car, Daniel was only a few blocks away. The city felt different from his own, but there was something oddly familiar about it. He glanced at the GPS. Just a few more turns and he would be there. Then, suddenly, everything changed. The ground beneath him trembled violently. At first, he thought it was just a rough patch of road, but then he saw buildings shaking, streetlights swaying, and pedestrians stopping in their tracks. Within seconds, the tremor intensified. An earthquake. Daniel's grip on the steering wheel tightened. His heart pounded as he quickly scanned his surroundings, looking for a safe place to pull over. Cars were already stopping haphazardly as drivers tried to make sense of what was happening. He spotted an open lot to his right and carefully steered into it, braking to a stop. His phone buzzed in his lap. "Olivia." "Daniel, are you okay?" Her voice was shaky but urgent. "I'm fine," he answered, though his breathing was heavy. "Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm still at the cafe. It's shaking like crazy, but I'm not hurt." The tremors continued, growing stronger. Car alarms blared. People ran onto the streets, and chaos erupted everywhere. The earthquake seemed endless, dragging on for what felt like an eternity. Tables and chairs outside the cafe toppled over, windows rattled, and Olivia hid under the table, bracing herself. 5 minutes. That's how long the earthquake lasted. By the time it was over, a tense silence settled over the city, broken only by the distant wails of emergency sirens. Dust filled the air, and small aftershocks made the ground quiver underfoot. Daniel exhaled, gripping the steering wheel. "Liv, you still there?" "Yes," she breathed. "I'm okay. What about you?" "I'm fine. Just, what the hell is going on with us?" Silence. Then Olivia spoke, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Daniel, this is getting really, really weird." Olivia quickly emerged from her hiding place along with the other shaken patrons of the cafe. The cafe manager rushed to check on everyone, ensuring no one was injured before guiding them all outside. The cafe itself had held strong, designed to withstand earthquakes, but the same couldn't be said for the surrounding area. Cracks lined the streets, windows had shattered, and chunks of concrete had fallen from older buildings. The wail of sirens filled the air as rescue teams and paramedics arrived, tending to the injured. Meanwhile, Daniel, still gripping his phone, stepped out of his car unharmed. His pulse was racing, but his determination was stronger than his fear. He needed to find Olivia. "I'm heading to you now," he said firmly into the phone as he started walking in her direction. "Okay," Olivia responded, her voice slightly shaky. "I'm moving too. We should be able to see each other soon." As they walked, still on the phone, their eyes darted around the wreckage. People were helping each other, emergency personnel were giving instructions, and a sense of controlled chaos took over the streets. They kept moving, turning corners, searching. Then, from a distance, they both saw each other's shadow just ahead. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. "I see you," he said, his voice almost breathless. "Me too," Olivia whispered, relief washing over her. Chapter 5. But before they could take another step, the ground rumbled again. Another earthquake. An aftershock, but this one was stronger than before. Buildings groaned under the pressure, and the cracked roads started to split further apart. A collective scream rose from the panicked crowd as debris fell and car alarms blared. Olivia staggered, gripping onto a nearby railing to keep herself upright. Daniel's grip on his phone tightened as he saw her struggling. "I'm coming to you, Olivia. Just stay there. Stay safe." The shaking intensified, forcing Daniel to maneuver carefully through the shifting landscape. Each step was measured, his eyes locked on Olivia. The closer he got, the worse the tremors became, as if the very earth was resisting their reunion. He refused to stop. His only goal was reaching her. Olivia's breathing was ragged, tears streaming down her face as she tried to stay steady. The ground beneath her cracked apart, and she instinctively stepped back, terror coursing through her veins. Daniel was so close now. He pushed forward, dodging falling debris, using every ounce of strength he had to keep moving. Almost there, he shouted. Then, in one terrifying moment, the street between them gave way. A massive crack opened up, threatening to separate them. Daniel didn't hesitate. He ran and leaped across the widening gap, stretching out his hand just as Olivia lunged forward. Their hands met, Daniel's grip strong, unyielding. He pulled her towards him just as the earthquake reached its peak. And then silence. The ground beneath them steadied. The tremors ceased as suddenly as they had started. Dust and debris settled around them, but Daniel and Olivia remained locked in place, their hands still clasped together. Panting, Olivia stared up at Daniel, her body trembling. What just happened? Daniel tightened his hold on her, his mind racing. "I don't know, but I think we were supposed to meet no matter what." As they stood there, holding on to each other amidst the chaos, one undeniable truth settled between them: whatever force had tried to keep them apart had failed. Tears streamed down Olivia's face as she clung to Daniel. The overwhelming sensation of finally finding each other against all odds gnawed at them both. Daniel gently stroked her back, his heart still pounding from the chaos. "I'm so glad you're okay," he whispered, pulling her closer. Olivia tightened her grip around him, nodding against his chest. "Me too." They stood there for a few minutes, simply holding each other, allowing the adrenaline to fade. Then, as if reality itself was bending to their presence, the ground beneath them trembled again, but this time something impossible happened. The cracked roads around them began to mend. The deep fissures that had torn through the pavement sealed themselves as if rewinding time. The shattered windows reassembled and the debris vanished, restoring the cityscape to its original state. The destruction from the earthquake and aftershock disappeared before everyone's eyes. Gasps filled the air. People scrambled to take out their phones, recording the bizarre phenomenon. Murmurs of disbelief and excitement spread through the crowd, some calling it a miracle, others too stunned to speak. Daniel and Olivia exchanged wide-eyed glances, their hands still clasped together. "We need to go," Daniel murmured, his voice low. Olivia nodded. "Yeah, let's go to my place." Without hesitation, they made their way to Olivia's car, which thankfully was untouched by the earlier chaos. The moment they were inside, an eerie silence settled over them. The roads were mostly clear, as the damage had been concentrated in the town center. The rest of the city looked unchanged, normal even. The drive was quiet, each of them lost in thought. The air was thick with unspoken questions, but neither of them knew how to start. What had just happened? Why had the city repaired itself? And why, of all people, were they at the center of it? Before long, Olivia pulled into the parking lot of her apartment complex. They sat there for a moment, staring ahead, still reeling from the inexplicable events of the day. Finally, Olivia let out a slow breath and turned off the engine. "Let's go inside." They walked up to her apartment in silence. Once inside, Olivia dropped her keys on the table and they both collapsed onto the couch, exhausted. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, at the exact same time, they both said, "That was insane." Their voices overlapped and they turned to each other in surprise before bursting into laughter. The tension broke for just a moment as they held hands and shook them lightly, as if grounding themselves in reality. "We're safe," Daniel said with a relieved smile. Olivia nodded, squeezing his hand. "Yeah, we are." Then, with a half-smile, she tilted her head. "Are we in some kind of fairy tale situation?" Daniel let out a chuckle, rubbing his face. "Honestly, it kind of feels like it." They exchanged a look, one that acknowledged the absurdity of it all, yet also the undeniable connection between them. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than either of them. And for better or worse, they were in it together. Chapter 6. The world was in shock. Videos of the impossible event spread like wildfire across social media, news channels, and online forums. Some skeptics argued that it was an elaborate movie set expertly crafted with CGI effects. Others believed it was a hoax, a viral marketing campaign for some upcoming blockbuster. But the real evidence couldn't be ignored. The people who had been injured during the earthquake were now miraculously healed. Hospitals reported cases of patients who had suffered fractures, bruises, and concussions suddenly recovering. One man, whose leg was set to undergo emergency surgery, stunned doctors when he stood up from his hospital bed, his injury completely gone. Nurses and physicians scrambled to explain the phenomenon, but no scientific explanation made sense. The more the world tried to dissect what had happened, the less logical it became. Meanwhile, Daniel and Olivia remained away from the media frenzy, choosing instead to focus on their own reality. They stood together in Olivia's small but cozy kitchen, preparing a meal. It was a quiet, almost intimate moment, chopping vegetables, stirring pots, the clinking of utensils filling the air. "This is crazy," Olivia said, breaking the silence. "I mean, everything that's happening. The earthquakes, the roads fixing themselves, it doesn't feel real." Daniel leaned against the counter, watching her as he peeled a potato. "I know, but we were there, Liv. We saw it happen. We felt it." He hesitated, then met her eyes. "And I don't think it's a coincidence." Olivia set down the knife she was holding. "Neither do I." They shared a look, one of understanding, of realization that whatever was happening, it was tied to them. But how? Why? What if this is something more? Olivia continued, voice softer now. "What if we're part of something bigger? Like fate or destiny?" Daniel let out a short laugh, shaking his head. "You really are thinking fairy tale, huh?" She smirked, but there was something serious in her eyes. "Well, do you have a better explanation?" He didn't. Instead, he sighed and nodded. "Okay, let's say you're right. If this is fate, if something is pulling us together for a reason, then we need to find out why." A pause. Then Olivia brightened. "What if we visit a temple?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "A temple?" She nodded, excitement flickering in her eyes. "Yeah, if this is supernatural, spiritual, or whatever, maybe we'll find answers there." Daniel thought about it for a moment, then shrugged. "Honestly, at this point, I'm willing to try anything." With that decision, they finished cooking their meal, enjoying the small moment of normalcy before diving deeper into the unknown. After eating, they gathered their things, ready to seek the answers that had eluded them for so long. The journey to the temple was long but peaceful. The road curved through lush greenery, the distant mountains standing tall against the sky. The ride was smooth, the fresh air streaming through the open windows, carrying the scent of pine and earth. Olivia remained focused on the road, her hands steady on the wheel, while Daniel sat beside her, scrolling through his phone. "Liv, listen to this," Daniel said, breaking the silence. "The hospital patients, the ones injured during the earthquake, they've all recovered, like completely. Some of them were in critical condition, and now they're walking around as if nothing ever happened." Olivia tightened her grip on the wheel. "That's insane. This is getting weirder by the second." Daniel nodded, still staring at his screen, the endless flood of articles and social media reactions overwhelming. People are calling it a miracle, but no one has an explanation. They both fell into silence, their minds racing with questions as they continued toward their destination. After a while, they finally arrived at the temple, a sacred sanctuary nestled in the heart of the mountains. The sight before them was breathtaking. The temple stood tall and serene, its golden rooftops glistening in the sunlight. Stone steps stretched upwards, lined with prayer flags fluttering gently in the wind. The sound of distant chanting filled the air, blending with the rustling leaves and the occasional chirp of a bird. They stepped out of the car and began their ascent up the long flight of stairs leading to the temple. Each step was a challenge, leaving them slightly winded by the time they reached the top. Daniel exhaled deeply, hands on his knees. "Wow, that was a workout." Olivia laughed, catching her breath. "No kidding. But look at this place. It's worth it." They took a moment to absorb their surroundings. The temple grounds were tranquil, with lamas in deep red robes moving gracefully around. A sense of peace settled over them, despite the questions buzzing in their minds. They needed answers, and they were determined to find them. As they walked through the temple courtyard, a small group of lamas approached them. Their expressions were calm yet knowing, their presence commanding yet gentle. One of them, an elderly lama with a serene face, stopped in front of them. "We have been waiting for you," he said, his voice smooth and unwavering. Daniel and Olivia exchanged puzzled glances. "Waiting for us?" Olivia asked hesitantly. The monk merely nodded and gestured for them to follow. They obeyed without question, walking through the temple's grand wooden doors and down a quiet hallway. The scent of incense filled the air, mingling with the soft glow of candlelight. The monks led them to a secluded chamber where an elderly lama sat on an intricately woven mat, his eyes warm and knowing. He motioned for them to sit before him. They did so, their anticipation growing. The lama studied them with a gentle smile before finally speaking. "So, you have finally found each other after a long time." Daniel and Olivia glanced at each other in confusion. "What do you mean?" Daniel asked. The lama's smile deepened. "In this lifetime, your determination has allowed you to break through the forces that have kept you apart. You have been separated again and again across many lives. But this time, you have conquered what has long bound you." A heavy silence filled the room. Daniel and Olivia stared at the lama, trying to grasp the weight of his words. Their minds raced with questions, yet something inside them, a deep, unexplainable part, already knew the truth. The room remained silent, the weight of the lama's words settling over Daniel and Olivia like a heavy mist. They looked at each other, their eyes reflecting both wonder and uncertainty. Before either of them could form a question, the senior lama spoke again, his voice calm yet filled with profound meaning. "You have been separated for 5 lifetimes, he said, his gaze steady. "Each time, you tried to find each other, but fate intervened in different ways. War, disaster, circumstances beyond your control. No matter how hard you searched, something always kept you apart. But this lifetime, this is the perfect moment for you to be together. The forces that once held you back have weakened, and now, you are given the chance to truly reunite. Cherish each other and embrace this moment." Chapter 7. A shiver ran down Olivia's spine. She turned to Daniel, whose expression mirrored her own mixture of shock and awe. Was this why they had been drawn to each other so strongly? Why every attempt to meet had been met with strange coincidences and obstacles? It wasn't just fate. It was a cycle they had been trapped in, now finally broken. The lama's words resonated deep within them. Something inside them recognized the truth even before their minds fully comprehended it. They both nodded, feeling an unspoken understanding pass between them. "Thank you," Olivia said softly, her voice laced with sincerity. Daniel echoed her gratitude. "We'll cherish this chance." The lama smiled, as if he already knew they would. After leaving the temple, the weight of the day's revelations sat heavy on them. The journey back was long, and with night settling in, they decided to stop at a small hostel along the way. The cozy establishment was tucked into the mountainside, its warm lights glowing invitingly against the darkness. They checked in and found a quiet corner in the hostel's dining area, sharing a simple but comforting meal. Neither of them spoke much, still lost in their thoughts. The flickering candle on their table cast soft shadows on their faces, highlighting the unspoken connection between them. After finishing their meal, they stepped outside for a moment, standing side by side under the vast, starlit sky. The air was crisp, the mountains standing silently in the distance as if they, too, were bearing witness to this fateful night. "This feels surreal," Olivia finally said, breaking the silence. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Yeah, but it also feels right." She glanced at him, their eyes locking in the dim light. "I guess we just have to take it one step at a time. Together," he added. A small smile touched her lips. Together. With that, they bid each other good night and headed to their separate rooms. As Olivia lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She couldn't shake the feeling that everything in her life had led to this moment. And for the first time, she felt at peace, knowing that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The next morning, the sun rose gently over the mountains, casting a golden glow over the quiet hostel. Daniel and Olivia woke early, still processing everything that had happened the previous day. After freshening up, they met in the small dining area, where the scent of brewed coffee and warm pastries filled the air. Their breakfast was quiet, both of them lost in thought, occasionally exchanging glances but saying little. It was as if they were afraid that speaking too soon might shatter the fragile reality they had just begun to grasp. Once they finished their meal, they checked out of the hostel and began their drive back to town. The ride was smooth, but the silence between them was heavier than before, not uncomfortable, but filled with unspoken words. They both seemed hesitant to break it, as if unsure of what should come next. Were they supposed to act normal now? Or did this change everything? Chapter 8. Upon arriving back in town, Olivia suggested they stop by the cafe where they were originally supposed to meet. It felt like the right place to settle their thoughts. Daniel agreed, and soon they found themselves sitting across from each other at a corner table, each with a warm drink in hand. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. He set his cup down, a playful smirk tugging at his lips. "All right, now that we're here, let's do this properly." He straightened up, extended his hand toward her, and said with a grin, "Hi. I'm Daniel. It's nice to meet you." Olivia blinked before chuckling, the tension between them dissolving in an instant. She took his hand, giving it a firm shake. "Nice to meet you, Daniel. I'm Olivia." Their hands lingered for a moment longer than necessary, but neither of them pulled away too quickly. There was a newfound warmth in the air, a sense of familiarity mixed with the excitement of something new. Olivia leaned back in her seat, tilting her head slightly. "So, what now?" Daniel took a sip of his coffee, considering her question. "Well, we could pretend we're two normal people who just met on a dating app and take things slow. Or we could embrace the fact that something much bigger is at play here and see where it leads us." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Are those our only options?" Daniel laughed. "I'm open to suggestions." She thought for a moment before smiling. "How about a mix of both? Let's just enjoy this and figure things out along the way." Daniel nodded, his expression softening. "I like that idea." As they continued talking, their conversation flowed effortlessly, just as it always had. The weight of the past, the uncertainty of their intertwined fates, it all seemed to fade into the background, leaving only the present moment. After everything they had been through, life gradually returned to a sense of normalcy for Daniel and Olivia. They continued their nightly chats and video calls, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. What had once been an inexplicable pull between them had now blossomed into something undeniable. They openly admitted their feelings, and when their schedules aligned, they made sure to meet in person. This time, no strange circumstances interfered, no accidents, no natural disasters, no uncanny interruptions. Their dates were filled with laughter, deep conversations, and stolen moments of affection. Together, they celebrated birthdays, holidays, and every meaningful occasion in between. They met each other's friends and families, recounting their improbable yet fated journey. Though some were skeptical at first, seeing the love between them erased any doubt. Chapter 9. As their first anniversary as a couple approached, Daniel planned something special. A simple yet meaningful evening. He made reservations at a quiet, scenic restaurant, nestled in a location where the stars were visible in all their glory. He arrived early, dressed sharply, taking deep breaths as he rehearsed his words in his mind. Tonight, he would ask Olivia to be his forever. He checked his reflection, adjusted his sleeves, and paced slightly as he waited. His heart was pounding, anticipation running high. Then, as if on cue, Olivia arrived. She wore a simple yet elegant dress that took his breath away. As she approached, Daniel couldn't help but admire her, his gaze lingering on her with overwhelming affection. Without a word, he stepped forward, took her hands, and kissed her forehead gently. "You look stunning," he murmured. They took their seats, enjoying the warm ambience of the restaurant. A soft melody from the live band played in the background, adding to the romantic atmosphere. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with shared memories and future dreams. With each course that arrived, Daniel grew more anxious, his fingers brushing against the small box in his pocket. Finally, as dessert was served, he took a deep breath, gathered his courage, and stood up. Olivia blinked in surprise as he stepped closer. Then, before she could react, he knelt on one knee. Her eyes widened, her breath hitching as realization dawned on her. Around them, the restaurant quieted, the other patrons turning their attention to the unfolding moment. Daniel's heartbeat was deafening in his ears, but he pushed through, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Olivia," he began, looking up at her. "From the moment we met, no, even before that, it always felt like I was meant to find you, like we were meant to find each other. And now that I can't imagine my life without you. No matter what happens, no matter how many lifetimes it took to get here, I don't want to let go of you ever again. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Olivia's eyes. She pressed a hand over her mouth, emotions overwhelming her. The anticipation in the room was palpable, the few other guests holding their breaths. Then, without hesitation, she nodded vigorously and spoke the words Daniel had been hoping to hear. "Yes, yes." The moment she said it, Daniel exhaled in relief, a wide grin spreading across his face. He took her left hand and carefully slid the ring onto her finger. The sparkle of the diamond reflected the soft lighting of the restaurant, but nothing shone brighter than the joy in Olivia's eyes. As soon as he stood, Olivia threw her arms around him, and he held her close. Their lips met in a sweet, tender kiss, sealing the promise between them. Applause broke out among the onlookers, cheers and congratulations echoing through the intimate setting. A waiter who had been prepared for this moment approached them with a bouquet of fresh flowers and a bottle of wine from Daniel's request earlier. "Congratulations," he said with a warm smile. "This is on the house, a complimentary cake, beautifully decorated with the words Congratulations, Daniel and Olivia." The night was filled with celebration, laughter, and the lingering warmth of knowing they had overcome so much to reach this moment. Olivia turned to Daniel with an amused, affectionate look. "You really thought of everything, didn't you?" He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "I just wanted it to be special. For you." She squeezed his hand. It already was. And as they sat together, hands intertwined, they both knew this was only the beginning of their forever. The night stretched on, filled with celebration and warmth as if even the universe was rejoicing with them. They took pictures together, some playful, some intimate, each one capturing the sheer happiness radiating between them. Among the many, Olivia selected a simple yet powerful one to share on social media, their hands intertwined, her engagement ring sparkling under the soft glow of the restaurant lights. The diamond wasn't massive, but Daniel had chosen it with the utmost care. He had spent weeks searching, wanting something that wasn't just extravagant but meaningful. The 2-carat diamond was delicately set in a band with intricate details, giving it a timeless elegance that suited Olivia perfectly. When she first saw it, her eyes had lit up and she had told him it was more beautiful than anything she could have imagined. The moment Olivia posted the picture, her phone buzzed with notifications. Comments flooded in like a wave, friends, family, and even acquaintances all chiming in with congratulations and excitement. "OMG! Finally! So happy for you too! Red heart! Congratulations! Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness. About time! Don't forget us when you start planning the wedding. Olivia girl, I better be a bridesmaid." Daniel chuckled as Olivia read the comments aloud, laughing at the playful threats and heartfelt messages. He wrapped an arm around her shoulder, pressing a soft kiss against her temple. "They're all excited," Olivia mused, scrolling through the endless stream of well wishes. "As they should be," Daniel replied, grinning. "We have a lot to celebrate." As they sipped their wine and shared bites of cake, Olivia glanced at Daniel, her heart full. "I still can't believe this is happening," she admitted softly. Daniel took her hand, tracing his thumb over her knuckles. "Believe it, because this is just the beginning." They clinked their glasses together, sealing the night with love and the promise of a future built together. Chapter 10. 6 months had passed, and Olivia and Daniel had meticulously planned every detail of their wedding. They chose a date that held deep significance, the anniversary of the day they had first met in person. To ensure no one was late or had trouble finding the venue, they decided to have both the wedding ceremony and reception at the same breathtaking location, a nature-surrounded estate nestled between their two cities. Close friends, family, and even some co-workers gathered for the joyous occasion. The venue was adorned with soft floral arrangements, fairy lights strung delicately across the open space, and elegant seating that blended seamlessly with the natural surroundings. The air buzzed with excitement as guests arrived, eager to witness the union of a couple whose love story seemed almost fated. As tradition dictated, the bride and groom spent the morning separately, preparing for their big moment. Olivia, draped in an exquisite lace gown, was a vision of beauty. Her friends and bridesmaids fussed over her, adding the finishing touches to her makeup and veil, ensuring everything was perfect. Meanwhile, Daniel, clad in a tailored suit, paced nervously, occasionally checking his watch despite knowing he had everything under control. Before the ceremony, there was a special moment planned, the first look. However, Daniel's friends decided to add a little mischief to the occasion. Blindfolded, he was led to the spot where he would first see his bride. The anticipation was palpable, his heart pounding in his chest. When the time came to remove the blindfold, he did so with great excitement, only to find one of his groomsmen standing there in a white dress and veil. For a split second, shock registered on Daniel's face before laughter erupted from everyone present. The groomsman twirled dramatically, striking a pose, while Daniel shook his head, laughing along. "You guys are the worst," he said, though he couldn't help but appreciate the light-hearted moment that eased his nerves. After the joke, Olivia was finally brought in, and the moment Daniel laid eyes on her, everything else faded away. She was stunning, absolutely breathtaking. His eyes softened, filled with admiration and love as she smiled at him. The ceremony began shortly after, with guests seated, eagerly awaiting the couple's exchange of vows. Olivia walked down the aisle, her gaze locked onto Daniel, who stood at the altar, visibly overwhelmed with emotion. As she reached him, he whispered, "You look incredible," making her blush. The officiant spoke of love, commitment, and the journey they had embarked on together. When it came time for the vows, both Olivia and Daniel spoke from the heart, their words filled with sincerity and devotion. Not a single dry eye remained among their loved ones as they sealed their promises with a heartfelt kiss, met with thunderous applause and cheers. As they turned to face their guests, now officially husband and wife, confetti filled the air, and music played in celebration. They held hands tightly, knowing that this was just the beginning of their forever. The reception awaited, a night filled with laughter, dancing, and the continuation of a love story that had defied time itself. The end. If you liked the story, hit like and subscribe for more. Thank you. Till next time.